Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we sit around and talk about anything we want to. Sometimes it's homesteading. Sometimes we're talking about garlic or chickens or a really great recipe. Sometimes we're just talking about life. Thank you so much for coming back for another week of whatever it is that I have to say. I am a little late with my episode this week. I just didn't get to recording, and I had to decide that I was okay with that. This is not a product. The thing about this podcast is it's not a product. I'm not making any money off of this. This is just something that I come on here and do. And so sometimes I have to be okay with the fact that either time got away from me or stuff didn't work or whatever. I'm doing this podcast in the middle of real life, and so sometimes my episodes are a little late. But if we were hanging out on the front porch today, I would tell you how the weather here in Minnesota has been really, really warm for November. I think yesterday it was in the 60s, maybe just got to 60, and I got home from work, I did some things, and then I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a walk down the road at 60 degrees and just enjoy it, because you know what? It won't be too long till we have snow. In fact, they're talking this weekend that there's a chance of snow. Who knows if it'll happen, because, you know, they like to get us going about stuff, especially when they've been predicting it for a whole week. So it'll probably change. Who knows? But the whole point is that I thought, you know what, I need to go out and take a walk and enjoy this beautiful weather where I don't have to put a coat on. And just, you know, because you never know when you're going to get to do that again, right? Because the weather's going to change, and then it's going to be a whole winter before we can do that again. And I thought, I'm just going to go take advantage of this because I don't know when I'm going to get to do it again. And then I was thinking, you know what? There's a lot of things in life where that is the truth. A whole bunch of things. We don't know when we're going to get the next opportunity to do the thing that we could do right now. So we'd sit and talk about that on the front porch. I am sure we talk about all the millions of things that are going on in life right now for so many people. There are so many people struggling with so many things right now. Some of them are really big. Some of them are not really big, but it's a lot of little things. And sometimes a lot of little things can add up to be big things. I always think about that like if you have a bathtub that has a leaky faucet and you plug up the drain, if you let that leaky faucet drip, 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 eventually it's going to fill the bathtub and it's going to overflow. So sometimes little things can turn into just a lot to deal with. And I know there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff right now. So that's just been really heavy on my mind and on my heart. So we would end up talking about that a little bit. But the main thing that we would probably end up talking about that would kind of just encompass all of that would be this thought that I had. The other day, I logged on to social media, and I haven't been on social media as much as normal, and we'll get to talking about that. But so I get online, and I get on social media, I get on Facebook, and I make a post that is basically me talking about how social media is really exhausting. And the irony of getting online and going on social media to talk about how social media is exhausting is not lost on me. Like, that's ironic and weird to do, and yet it's true, because the thing that I've realized since I started working in a real live office again with real live people, I've been noticing something that I did not expect, and that is that spending time around actual humans every single day has really changed the way that I think about being online. Now, don't mishear me here. Like, people in person still can make your eye twitch, right? Everybody has issues. Everybody has like quirks and idiosyncrasies and all those things that can just make you be like, oh my gosh. Everybody has moods. Everybody has opinions, and they will test your patience. But there is a difference in connection when you're actually standing there having a conversation, because you can hear tone and you can read someone's face. And if someone laughs, it's not an emoji. And what I have realized after many, many, many years of working online from home is that we kind of online just become pixels and opinions. And people are different than that. So it kind of becomes this people versus pixels kind of thing in my head. And to talk about social media for a little bit, and this whole episode won't just be about that, but okay, talk about social media. It's really easy to pretend that you know the answers to everything when you're commenting on a post. And it's really easy to sound confident or even cruel when you don't have to look someone in the eye. When you've got that screen between you, it's a lot harder to do that when you are standing in front of someone, when you are sharing space and you are sharing air, and that like awkward pause that follows when you realize that there's more to the story than you thought. There's more to the story than your hot take on the thing. And sometimes I think we've kind of forgotten that. We've forgotten that people are just human beings and they're all carrying around a pile of really hard stuff, and every single human being has that pile, whether they talk about it or not. And I don't say that to be like a meme, because there's quotes out there that go around about how everybody's fighting a battle that you haven't, that you don't see. Did I say this in another podcast? Now I'm thinking, did I just talk about this? I don't even know. But you know what? Sometimes we rediscuss things on the front porch. But I think social media sometimes has made us forget how to be quiet enough to actually listen to what's being said. And we've forgotten that every conversation doesn't need to be a competition. Sometimes we're just sharing. Sometimes we're just talking. It's not a competition. And I think sometimes we've forgotten that disagreement doesn't mean destruction. It doesn't have to mean destruction. Because behind every single comment and every single post and every single I'm going to show them kind of rant, there's still a person. There's still a breathing and complex and sometimes hurting, sometimes really lonely person. And I think sometimes we forget that in all the noise. We forget that in social media because it looks completely different when you're in person. And the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately regarding the internet is that the internet could have been used to bless people. When it first showed up back in the day, if you've been around long enough to remember the first days of the internet, back in the dial-up days when you had to yell, "Hang up the phone, I'm online." We were so excited because the internet felt like this, like a new front porch that stretched across the world because you could meet people that you never would have met otherwise. And that's still true. We still meet people online we never would have met otherwise. We get to learn all this information. We learn new skills. We can encourage each other. We can build community. And oddly enough, the bigness of the internet was supposed to make the world smaller in a good way because it was supposed to be a place to share stories and laughter and recipes and those moments when you realized you weren't the only one trying to figure something out. You were going through something that someone else was going through, and now you have a connection. And you live 522 miles away from each other, but now you have this connection and you build this friendship because you figured out, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person going through this thing. Nobody else around me is going through this thing, but hey, this person way out there is, and now we can help each other. But somewhere along the way, we took that front porch and we turned it into like this stage, I guess, and instead of blessing people, we started branding ourselves or selling ourselves. And instead of connection, we got comparison. And now it's not how can I help, it's how can I be seen. And it's almost like we turned the world's biggest potluck into a competition over who brought the prettiest hot dish. And I get it because I've done it too. We all have. We start out trying to connect and we end up kind of, putting on the show, which is ironic for me to say that I'm talking into a podcast mic right now to all of you, but the hopeful part I think is that I don't think it's too late. And I think the thing that I have to remember, that I always have to be reminded about, especially when I get really snaggy about stuff and I just get into this not awesome place in my head about how just the world sucks and the internet sucks and everybody sucks. The internet isn't evil, right? It's just like anything else. It can be used for good or evil. I don't think the internet itself is evil. I don't think social media itself is evil. I think in some ways it's kind of a mirror, and I think it reflects whatever we put into it, whatever we feed it. I think that's what it reflects. I think there's a little, problem there with the fact that we have an algorithm, which kind of messes things up. But simplistically, I think we can think of the internet as a mirror. And it's reflecting what we give it. And if we feed it outrage, we're going to get outrage. If we feed it encouragement or kindness or humility or any of those wonderful things, that's what will grow. Again, we have an algorithm, but you know what I'm saying. We can still use the internet to bless people. It just takes a little bit more work now. It takes a little more intention now. It takes showing up as a person, not a brand. And maybe that's what I'm trying to do here. Maybe that's what the Farmish Front Porch really is. It's my little corner of the internet where people can sit down and take a breath and feel human again. Because I don't want to add to the noise. I want to be part of the quiet that gives people a chance to breathe and reminds people to breathe. Because blessing people shouldn't look like a viral post. Sometimes it's answering an email from someone who's having a really rough week. Sometimes it's talking on the phone with someone who's had a really rough week. Maybe it's making something that only reaches one person, but it hits them right in the heart. Sometimes it's getting off the computer and going to help someone in real life. Sometimes it's turning off the TV, stopping Netflix, putting your phone down, and going to connect with someone in real life. I have been waking up lately, very early in the morning, about 3 o'clock. If any of y'all out there, women about my age, late 40s, are doing the wake up at 3 a.m. every morning thing, drop me an email. I don't want your answers for how to fix it. Like, this is a stage of life and everybody's got their own way to deal with it. I'm just saying, a little ICU back and forth between us, that would be good. So I've been waking up really early, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up, can't get back to sleep, and I start thinking the same thing. How do we love each other better as human beings? And I know this sounds really heady and like woo-woo, but there's so much junk going on in the world right now, you guys. How do we love each other better? How do we show up for each other in a world that seems allergic to compassion sometimes? How do we do that? And I'm not saying this in this memeified, share this post if you agree kind of way. I'm talking about the love that is difficult and takes work and takes patience and grace and a few deep breaths or a lot of deep breaths before you respond. The kind that says, you don't have to agree with me for me to care about you. The kind that listens instead of lectures. Because I think that real love isn't glamorous. I think it's quiet. I think it's repetitive. I think it's awkward and it's hard and it's humbling. But I think it's what holds everything together when the world feels like it's falling apart. The world is going through a struggle right now. I had someone tell me the other day, you know what? It almost feels like we're going back a little bit to pandemic times. I don't know that we're there. I mean, I don't know personally that we're there, but maybe there are some people who feel that. There's a lot of people struggling with a lot of stuff, and they're looking at the future thinking, what the heck, you guys? And there's negativity and fighting and so much hate, y'all. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. There is so much hate being spewed back and forth that people can't even have a conversation. So much, you guys. And sometimes all of this makes me think about maybe people aren't the problem. I think maybe the problem is that we forget how to be people with other people. Because when all this starts happening, and it's happened several times over the last 8 years of having this podcast, with various things that have happened in the world, you get to that point where you're just like, screw it. I don't want to be online. I don't want to be with anybody. This is dumb. The whole world sucks. I know some of you, maybe all of you, have been at that point, probably more than once. And so then we talk about how the internet is horrible and just is stupid, and we're just, we're not going to do it. But maybe people aren't the problem. Maybe we forget how to be people with people. And maybe the simple life, whether we're talking about being online or not, is not about disconnecting completely. Because we can get frustrated when we're in real life with real people. We get frustrated when we're just like, whatever, I just want to be by myself. I just want to work from home, and I just don't even want to deal with people because people suck, right? We just want to disconnect. And then we're like, oh, people online are great, right? And then we're online for a while and we deal with all that junk. Then we're like, oh, people suck. I just don't even want to be online. I'm just going to hide under my desk and just be alone for the rest of my life, right? I don't think we're supposed to disconnect completely. I think we need to remember what connection was supposed to mean in the first place and what it was supposed to look like, especially in a time right now where people are struggling for so many reasons, you guys. I'm not even going to bring up any of the buzzwords or anything. People are struggling for a lot of reasons right now. So I think what we really need to do is go love our people. I want you to go love your people, okay? Go love them. Figure out what that looks like and what that means, and go do it. Whether that is online or offline, or I don't even care. Go love your people. And if you need a break from the noise, I'm going to be sitting right here on my pretend front porch that I don't actually have, because all I have is a front step. So I will be sitting here on the front step with my coffee, waiting to remind us both what real connection feels like. That's what I have for you today. You all, thank you so much for sitting here and listening to me babble for 20 minutes about something that hopefully gets people loving their people again. I guess that's what it is. All right, you guys, take care. Talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com. Find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.